Ladies and gentlemen, the end of Season X here in Fortnite Battle Royale is rapidly approaching. We are only a few days away from the end of the season at this point, and with it we are finally at the peak of the season where the most important events unfold, the most impactful updates are pushed live, and the entire game as we know it evolves even more. With the next season of Battle Royale right around the corner now, we are getting closer and closer to the Season X finale event, which is undoubtedly going to be the biggest live event in the history of Fortnite Battle Royale. Each season ever since the rocket launch back in Season 4, Epic has been adding in live events to progress the storyline. And with the final showdown last season being arguably the biggest event to date, the expectations this time around are very, very high, as everyone is pretty anxious to see what exactly is going to happen to the Fortnite Islands. All season long, we've been dealing with the aftermath of the mecha robot breaking open the Nexus Orb to defeat the Polar Peak monster. And because of that Nexus Orb, we've been experiencing a time warp on the islands all season long. And coinciding with the visitor bringing rift beacons and rift zones to the islands, we are at an all-time high when it comes to weird things happening on the Fortnite map. So today, we're breaking down what to expect in the Season X finale event, and what fans are thinking is going to happen in Season 11 because of it. So let's get into it. Now, as of the time of recording this, the event has not been scheduled yet, but by the time this video goes up, chances are Epic Games will have announced what day and also what time the event will be occurring. So make sure you double check on that because you guys do not want to miss this event, as you'll see by the end of the video. Now, of course, the finale event this season is going to cap off the storyline that we've been following and I guess also living throughout the past few weeks since Season X launched. To recap, initially we saw that Season X started in a time warp thanks to the Nexus Orb's power being unleashed, and because of that said time warp, Dusty Depot returned to the map and the meteor from Season 4 was suspended in the air and frozen before it could crash into the island yet again. And since then, the visitor, who was actually inside of the meteor, escaped from his pod and set up shop in one of the warehouses at Dusty Depot. Throughout the weeks, various rift beacons have appeared on the island, bringing forth areas like Tilted Town, Retail Row, Greasy Grove, Moisty Palms, etc., etc. At first, we weren't really sure why these rift beacons were appearing where they were, or even how these rift beacons were appearing in the first place. But slowly, over the course of the season, we started to fill in the blanks and things started to become a bit more clear. Inside of the visitor's warehouse, we started to see various components of the rift beacons and pieces of the meteor under examination. So presumably, the visitor is making all the rift beacons with the help of the meteor's energy, and throughout the season he's plotted a series of locations to replace on the map with various alternative locations. What sparked a lot of curiosity though is the fact that the returning areas, despite them being named similar to areas that we've seen before, weren't exactly the same. Obviously, Tilted Town is a very old version of Tilted before technology actually caught up with it. Retail Row is from a time where the brutes and the monsters roamed free. Greasy Grove is not home to a burger restaurant but rather a taco shop. Paradise Palms and Moisty Mire have been combined, so on and so forth. So with all of these clues in place, players began to think that maybe the visitor is some kind of multiverse traveler who, after being sent into a rift back in Season 4's rocket launch event thanks to the Enforcer, traveled through time and different realities, visiting various Fortnite islands, which all looked relatively the same, but they weren't one-for-one copies. Instead, places like Snobby Shores was Sunny Shores, Greasy Grove was a taco town and not a burger place, and all things of that nature. And thus, through his travels, the visitor is trying to unite the multiverses and bring forth locations from other Fortnite islands to our Fortnite islands in order to accomplish something that honestly we're not sure of as of now. But we do know it's probably not going to be good, going off of the visitor's rather negative reputation. So what exactly is going to unfold here shortly when the Season X finale event kicks off? Well, that's where we turn to the rocket launch site at Dusty Depot, because thanks to some leaked in-game files, we know that apparently the epicenter of the event is going to take place in between Loot Lake and Dusty Depot, which lines up perfectly with the theory that we'll be breaking down here in just a moment. We know that the rocket is being built to be launched at the end of the season, presumably, and we know that the Nexus Orb is on the verge of combusting and potentially destroying the entire island. So if you were an evil villain trying to maybe destroy the Fortnite island, just like you did a few seasons back, it would probably make the most sense to launch your massive rockets at the most volatile and dangerous thing on the entire map, that being the Nexus Orb. We also know, thanks to the in-game files, that this event is going to be called The End. What exactly does that mean, you might ask? Well, it says the end. I think that just means it's the end, but the end of what? Well, that's where we have two options. This event could either be the end of the Fortnite island as we know it, or it could just simply be the end of the time warp. Personally, I'm leaning towards the former there just because, frankly, the end of the map sounds a lot more intriguing. We've been theorizing for quite some time here on the channel about the end of the Fortnite island, as Fortnite is one of the very few games out there that has had only one map to play on for this amount of time. Blackout has 2 maps, PUBG has multiple maps, Apex has multiple maps now too apparently. Fortnite though has kind of been in a realm of its own with its map dynamic, and to be honest, it has worked. But there is no denying that gameplay has gotten a little stale on the current map throughout the past 10 seasons. And so with the Season X finale event, the Fortnite Island's time will come to an end, perhaps as the visitor attempts to launch the rocket from Dusty Depot towards the Nexus Orb. And if things do go according to plan and the rocket does end up hitting the orb, we're going to have one serious explosion that could flatten the entire island or send us into some alternative dimension. Or I guess really both, they tie in pretty well with one another there. We ended up seeing that a few weeks back we got a massive leak from the game files detailing 11 new named points of interest, consisting of Beachy Bluffs, Camp Cod, Dirty Docks, Frenzy Farm, Holly Hedges, Lazy Lake, Mountain Meadow, Power Plant, Slurpy Swamp, Sunny Shores, and also Weeping Woods. Now, you might notice some of those areas are awfully similar to places that we have on the map now or places that we have had before. Weeping Woods sounds awfully close to Wailing Woods. Lazy Lake kind of sounds like Loot Lake, Sunny Shores and Snobby Shores, etc., etc. So once again, that goes back to the idea of the multiverse being in play, and that the Nexus Orb somehow ties into all of that. Like I said earlier, we have these alternative places on the map now thanks to the Rift Beacons and the Rift Zones that clearly are not the same as they once were back in Seasons 2, 3, 4, or whenever they were around. And it definitely makes a lot of sense if these areas were from an alternative dimension or an alternative reality. And with all of those leaked named locations being in the game files right now, suddenly all the stars are starting to align and things are shaping up to be a bit more clear now if I do say so myself. So with that, if I was a betting man, I would say that once the end event begins, that was kind of a strange sentence. Once the finale event commences, the rocket will launch from Dusty Depot, and if all things go to plan, the rocket will rise to the sky just like it did back in Season 4, then turn back towards the ground, aimed right at the Nexus Orb. Whether or not it'll actually connect with the Nexus Orb before the orb combusts by itself, well, only time will tell there, but regardless, I think we are going to see something go wrong at some stage in the event that causes even more unforeseen outcomes. We also have to take into consideration the meteor, which could unfreeze at any time and come crashing down to the island yet again as well. At the end of the day though, I think this event is going to drastically change the map come Season 11. Either we're going to have the Fortnite island that we have now, except it's going to be altered in some very, very extreme ways, like brand new points of interest all over the place, not just the standard 1 or 2 that we're used to seeing, or we are going to end up getting a brand new map in Fortnite Battle Royale for the very first time ever. Now here's the thing, do you think Fortnite would be better or worse with a brand new map? Let us know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it, give it a big old thumbs up as it would be much appreciated. And of course, if you are brand new here to the channel and you like what you see, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when a new video goes live. As always, by joining the notifications squad, every time we post a new video, YouTube will actually send you a message letting you know we've gone live. That way you can be the first person to watch, like, and comment on each and every new video. With all of that being said, that is effectively going to wrap things up for now. So thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you guys on the battle bus. Peace out.